Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast, a place where we focus on the business side of art to help you attract more customers, increase profits, and ultimately live a life of creativity and financial freedom. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and this week is all about the things that are not necessarily business things or art business related, but that really affect my art business. I'll go and explain, but I have these three things are popping up this year for me that I'm just trying to be very intentional with, and mostly because I've had some negative effects. So just to get into it, for one of these things are health. So my health, your health, the amount of sleep you get, how healthy you are, how agile. And I'm not just talking about go work out and then it'll be easier to paint. I think sometimes it's more than that, especially where I'm at right now. So just to share a bit more. So in the beginning of the year, I was like, yeah, I had all of these aspirations and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do all this year and all things. And it quickly faded for a couple reasons. And one of those things was, I think it just really started to set in. After having my baby, after anybody has a baby, any woman, things are a little messed up for a while, right? Hormones are crazy. Your body's not quite the same. It's just, everything's a little different. So I was gutting it out and I was like, okay, things are just going to return to normal. And then I've just come to terms that I don't think they are. And what I mean by that is I'm extremely tired, and I've always been a very tired person. I used to say, sleep is my superpower. I can fall asleep on a bus or a train or anything. It's so great. But I've started to think, especially looking at some of my close friends, and I was like, you're not like this. Why am I like this? I am exhausted all the time. And I went to my primary care doctor to talk to her about it. And she basically gave me yeah, you have a toddler at home. This is normal. I was like, okay, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. But I bought this test online. It was called the Dutch test, and it measures female hormones and just a bunch of other things. It's like I am a huge advocate of it. And anytime I am talking to old friend, new friend, anybody new, I'll say, hey, have you got your hormones tested lately? Or have you had a food sensitivity test done? And it's my favorite thing to talk about right now because I'm in the trenches of it. But I got this test and it was a few $100s. It wasn't cheap. And I was thinking about it for a long time. And then finally I was talking to my husband about it. I'm like, heck with it. Like, I'm just going to get this, and worst case, it's going to come back and say that I'm normal, and then I'll try something else. But he was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. So I got it, and it confirmed exactly what I was feeling. I have no testosterone. And so I like to say that my little boy, my son, took all of it from me. But I think this has been happening for a while. And I think it was just amplified after having a baby. And so TMI, but like I have no energy, I have no sex drive. And it just feels like even though my son is sleeping 8 hours at night or more, like he's sleeping 10 hours, and most of the time I get a full night's sleep. And I'm not overworked. I'm not overworked anymore at all, like not at all. And so I'm like, why am I still exhausted? And yes, it is exhausting chasing around a toddler, but he goes to daycare for like several days a week. And so I get a break. And I'm like, okay, so anyway, this just confirmed. And so any females out there, just something feels a little off, just go get your hormones tested. It is cleared up so much. And so I went to this naturopathic place. First, I went to my primary care, and she was like, no, like it says your hormone, or that's super low, but it's still technically in the normal range. It was like a 2. And the normal range is 1 to like 30 or something. I was like, I have a 2. She's like, no, that's still normal. I'm like, stop. So I went to this like naturopathic place, and they're like, no, it's really low. Let's see what we can do about it. And so I am currently in the trenches of it. I am not over the hill healed by far anything, because I feel like I'm still very tired. I'm still not cured at all, but I am a month and a half to 2 months into this. just taking natural supplements, trying to figure out how to boost my testosterone and like all the stuff. And while we're at it, we did a food sensitivity test and found out that gluten, dairy, and peanuts, and among a couple other little things, but those are the main things that I'm super sensitive to, which also, so the things that I'm eating are contributing to my body just being inflamed. I was super bloated all the time. And we think that it, contributes to the tiredness and all of that. And so I'm currently on a detox for 3 months, taking a bunch of supplements, doing a bunch of things. And it's probably making me more tired, really, as I'm in it. And I wanted to come on and just record this after I was healed and after I did the thing to be like, everybody go do this so much better now. Like this is because everybody loves a good, hero story of, you go through something and then you see the rainbow at the end or the sunshine at the end and everything's fixed, right? And that's what I wanted to do. But like, I'm just going to bring it up because right now I think there's still something to be said for somebody who's in the middle of something and trying out new things to fix something. Because it's just reality. Like I had all these ambitions going into the year and I'm not quite where I should be mid-year. But there's a couple, not just health, but other things that contributed to that. But health was a big one. I feel like if I have more energy, I'll want to work more. And I'm not saying that everybody has something wrong with them to go fix it, but it also comes down to I've really, really strict with my sleep now. Once I have figured out, okay, yeah, something's off. Like, let's make sure I get more sleep on the weekends. Let's make sure this and that. It's just like making sure my body is healthy in order to do the work or my best work in order to show up here on the podcast with good spirits. Because there for a while, I haven't done a solo episode or very many for a while because I was just not feeling it. I was not feeling my normal peppy self. And I guess it's maybe starting to work because I feel a little bit better. But it's so funny how like the naturopathic way is so slow. I don't know. I'm just used to being able to take Tylenol and poof, like a headache's gone. It's just not that way when healing hormones and whatnot, I guess. Yeah. So I'm hoping that by the fourth quarter, I'm just going to come at you guns blazing of like, let's do this. I have so many new tutorials for you or new things and this and that. But right now I'm just kind of in my own thing. Just kind of now just healing my own, trying to get as much sleep as possible, taking a stupid amount of supplements. I don't even know what half the shit is, really. There's so much fish oil, like iron, like all this stuff. Yeah. So I'm in the middle of it doing that, figuring out new recipes. I will also say too, like, so I can't eat bread and wheat and any milk and yogurt and all the things that I ate all the time. So having to figure out all of these new recipes and all of these new foods and just like ways to actually eat and things that I like is definitely taking a toll on how much I can show up for work because I'm hungry, I'm irritable. I usually just eat a factor meal and eat a yogurt on the go. And now that I can't do that anymore, I'm having to go get stuff and cook stuff and learn stuff. And it's just, that is taking up a lot of mental space and it's taking it away from my art business. And so I share that because, if there's something outside of your art business that's taking up a lot of mental space, if you're learning something new, if you're going through something hard, that's also, it's taking away from the art business. So maybe figure that out. Like I'm in the middle of figuring it out. And so far, so good. At first I was like, I'm going to die. How is this possible? And then I went to the natural grocery stores and I found some cheese alternatives and I found, alternatives for this. And it's just a learning process, but it's definitely taking a toll on my art business. And okay, moving on though. So the second thing, this is just like a tell-all really. And like I said, I came in and January was great. And then towards the end of January, I hit a really rocky emotional point with some people around me. Basically, our friend group just split. Like we went from hanging out all the time, talking every day, and just some things happened and we split up. And it was really hard. It was really hard to see people in some ways that they were showing me. And it was really hard to hear some of the nasty things that were said. And it took a huge toll on my art business. It took a huge toll on me. And I mourned the loss of several friendships and I cried. And it was just, it was really hard. And it was like several weeks and to a month where I just did not feel like my normal self. Like I would have a couple days where I would come back to it and okay, let's do this. And then it was just really difficult. And now it's better. I mean, this was in January and this is now midsummer. And so it's still like kind of a little weird, but not really. Like, I mean, a little bit of like anger is still there deep down, but it worked out the most of it. But it ruined my like January prep and February like deep dive into my business to where I do new things and fix things and make things better and like try this new painting style and do this canvas. And it's just like all of that went to crap. And I was just going through the motions of like, okay, I'll go and do this mural for somebody, but there was no like creative energy in me. I didn't have that bursting positivity of creativity during that set time that I had set for myself to be like that. Because in the summer and the spring, there's people knocking on my door wanting me to paint for them. And so that I share this not to disclose or anything. It just goes to show like if you have personal relationships that are dragging you down in your personal life, it affects your art business. And I just decided enough was enough and I wasn't going to do it anymore. And I've thinned down my friendship list. I don't hate any of the people that I'm not close with anymore, but it's definitely helped. It's helped a lot of just the worrying of like, what are they saying? Or the fear of judgment or the just little things that would come up where somebody said, don't do that or what. And I was like, it was just, I don't have a lot of that anymore. Obviously, there's always going to be like friendships that take work, but it's less. And so it has now opened me up to one, having more free time because I don't have as many obligations, but it also showed me, who my core friends are. And it made me think. I actually jotted down these notes when I was going through it. I just didn't want to sit down and record a podcast when I was going through that. I think that's an instance where it's just better to come out the other end and be able to look back on it. But I jotted down some notes when I was going through it because I would have lunch with some other friends who I had no troubles with, and letting go of some other friendships allowed me to have time for these newer ones or ones that I hadn't made time for. And I remember I was just sitting down at lunch with a girlfriend and we were telling each other like all the things. And it was just such an uplifting conversation. And I left and I started painting when I got home. And I was in just such a good mood. And you know how you have those people around you that either bring you up or bring you down. And it just really made me very just apparent to just surrounding myself with people who bring me up. And obviously there's not going to be an up, up, up all the time, but there should be an up, 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 maybe a little down, up, 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 up. You know what I mean? Like there shouldn't be people that's like up, down, up, down. Oh my gosh, geez. So I've also had conversations, with like family members who they just like vent to me on the phone and they're just very negative about the work situations and other family members. And you leave that conversation being like, glad I'm off the phone with that. Or some people just take that in and it affects your art business. It affects mine. I don't feel inspired to go paint after that. You just kind of show up. And it's just this year, that kind of set me back a little bit, but I am determined to learn from my mistakes and just keep going and not try to be in a position like that again to where I am that set back and that unaware of the setback for that long. It's made me even more blunt and unapologetic about who I want in my life and what I expect out of them. I have extremely high standards for people who are close to me. It's really hard for me to see people slack because I don't like to slack. I get down on myself for doing so. And I really love to have people around me who are doing great things and who inspire me. And those are the people, like if I invite a new friend into my life, she will be one that I look up to in some way. And it's just, I've learned from this a little bit. I was also thinking, I was talking to my friends, I'm like, man, things like this just teach you so much. This is why, women in your 30s compared to, women in your 40s, they're so much smarter. And women in your 50s and 60s, they're so much smarter and have life experiences. Like, I feel like it was just a huge life experience to just learn people and have higher expectations for people around me. And I have higher expectations for myself and my health of what I'm going to put up with my own body and what I can do about it. Because I learned a long time ago that I used to be very much a victim mode. Like when something happened to me, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Like, I can't believe she did that to me. Like, I can't. And I'm like, since then I'm like, okay, no. Like, I allowed that person in my life. I went to this place and that happened. Like, it was just, everything is my fault. My health is my fault. If I'm not doing something about it, that's my fault. What I'm learning lately is to just take even more control of exactly what my day looks like, who's in it, how I feel, and fix it or be better or something, because it affects my business. I can't expect my art business to go all hunky-dory when the rest of my life is not. Usually, they are correlated. When I was going through these very down times of feeling tired or just feeling emotionally, socially exhausted or these things, there wasn't a whole lot of inbound coming in because I also wasn't posting online as much. I wasn't putting out I wasn't showing up on my story happy. I was just dealing with my stuff and doing what I needed to do and moving on. I wasn't putting out anything. Therefore, I wasn't getting anything back. So I recently heard a quote here recently where somebody said something like, fortune favors the prepared, or put two people in a room, put one person in there that is practicing and really wants it and have one person there just standing there, and the opportunity is going to blindly be picked to the one who is ready for it. There's this idea that luck favors the prepared, or chance favors a prepared mind. I think there's something to it. This is kind of woo-woo, but it's also not in a way, so I'm really trying to just get my mind in check, because when my mind is right and my mind is happy and I'm thankful and everything is going good, basically I've gotten enough sleep or enough quotes, whatever that is. Whenever I am helping other people or going out of my way to help other people, sometimes I feel like I get way more inbound than I do if I'm not. Whenever I am really wanting to be busier is when I get more inbound. But whenever I'm scared of being too overbooked or feeling really overwhelmed about being overbooked, or thinking that people aren't going to reach out because of this and that, or making up an excuse in my head as to why I'm not busy or things like that, I feel like we can almost mentally break our own businesses down. So what I try to do when I am on that just downward spiral and not sure what to do is I'll either just go for a walk and figure my shit out. Exercise helps a ton. Or if I can't figure it out and I don't want to go for a walk, I'll just think, okay, where is this coming from? Where is the root of this thought? Like, for example, say like I haven't had a lot of inbound coming in, like what's happening here? And I'll go into this like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe people don't like me as much anymore. Maybe that Instagram post that I made, like maybe pissed people off, or maybe like, this is one thing I think sometimes I'm like, maybe I put out that I'm being more selective so people just don't come to me anymore. And I'm like, maybe that's why I don't have as much inbound. And I'm like, wait, isn't that a good thing? Yeah, it actually probably is. Yeah. So I try to think of it, one, just turn it into a positive in some way, kind of like that. But I'll just figure out the root of what exactly is going on. Like, where is this negative thought originating from? And is the thought actually true? And one I come back to whenever I don't have people reaching out about doing logos or murals for a couple weeks and I'm not quite as busy, I'll say something in my head. I'm like, oh man, oh no, like, am I gonna get stuff for next month on the books, or is it like, are people just not interested? And then I'll think, oh, do I actually want to paint what other people want me to paint? Not really. I mean, I will for a paycheck gladly, but if somebody doesn't reach out, I literally have the ability to paint something and sell it on my own. Man, I can literally create my own job. Great. So what do I want to create? And then I'll go for a walk and figure out, okay, I could do this or I could do that, or I'll see all of the paintings currently in my studio that I could do an auction for. Like, it's just, I quickly will realize, just turn it into a positive in some way. And if you have problems with that, just talk to somebody, bounce ideas off of somebody, either posted it in the academy, or if you're not in there, ask a friend, or if you don't have friends you can talk to, that's literally why we made the academy. So you have friends to talk to about this, or else you're just in your own head all day in your studio, like la-di-da-di-da-da-da-da-da. Like, but sometimes I need to just not. Like, I was trying to figure out how to word this Roger the Raccoon project that I've talked about a couple times on here, but just to reiterate, I'm painting little raccoons around my town of Rogersville because I think it's a great way to get my name out, but also I think it's really cute and a fun community thing. And I just could not put into words how to describe this thing. Like, I know now it's a community art project that it's kind of like a scavenger hunt for local families. And we're going to make customized Rogers the raccoons all on the outside of local businesses and then create a fun map for everybody. But I could just not put it in a little proposal to hand out to people. I was making a 1-page flyer to hand out to people. And it really ended up to be just, I would go with the flyer and then just talk to people in person. That's just what it ended up being. I didn't even really need to write it down, but I ended up making, if you go to Roger the Raccoon, you can see exactly what I'm talking about, Roger the Raccoon. And that right there is the very short, to the point proposal explaining exactly what my project is, how to do it, how other people can be involved, what it is, why you should care about it, in very few sentences with pictures. And I just could not figure out how to put it on paper. And so I would start on it and then I put it down, start on it and put it down. And so I'm saying, like, I go through these mental things as well, where you just feel like, things just aren't working. But the way I do it is I literally just put it down and I come back to it later. And usually I come back to it at a different point in my cycle, and it makes a lot more sense. I have put this thing down multiple times, and then I just picked it up one day and jotted everything down and got it perfect. And I was like, wow, that was easy today. And so some days are harder than others. Some days words are hard. And someday video is hard. And then other days it's easy. And so maybe give yourself a little bit of grace. And if you're not able to work on your website today and it's just not flowing, try harder. And then if you try harder and it's still not working, put it down. And then make a time next Monday to work on it. And then try. And if it's still not working, do it next Monday. So that is my method for getting over some of the mental hurdles that come with starting anything new. Literally anything. Okay, I kind of got off topic just a little bit, sort of. But just to recap, the first thing, health, sleep, all the things, showing up to work rested and at your best, or as best as you can be, the healthiest version of you, will make you more money. So think of it like that, eating healthier, or maybe getting your hormones tested, or working out, even, or whatever. Be like, this is going to make me money. I'm going to do it, because that helps in my brain. That's something that would compute, because it's really hard to, settle or do like self-improvement things when there's no real return. But literally, no, like taking care of yourself, like me investing a few $100s into this hormone test, I'm going to be making that back later. That's how I think of it. It's, me investing in a gym membership. You're going to make that back. Or spending a little bit more for healthier food. You're going to make that back. You're going to make that back in the more effort you can be. Because I've noticed, even I could talk about this for a long time. So if anybody wants to DM me to talk about food or hormones or something like that, I'm literally testing out how much protein to eat, how little carbs to eat at certain times of day so that I actually have some energy, because I would tell you every day at 3:00, I would crash, absolutely crash. And so I've worked out little things like I'll go for a walk at around like 2 to up my cortisol, and I'll eat a little bit of something, maybe even something a little bit sweeter to give me a little bit more energy, no caffeine. Anyway, and then the second one is just relationships. Talk about friends, family, all the things. But even like I have the most supportive husband. Like he is so great. And I say that and just to tamper expectations. I mean, he is so down to do whatever I want to do at any time. But that man has no idea what I'm doing at any time. I'll tell him, hey, I'm working in Branson next week. He has no idea. I have to remind him 3 different times. I literally told him the whole thing about how I was going to get Roger the Raccoon printed on metal, and then had to have the conversation again a week later because he could not recall. But so like not expecting for perfection out of our supporters, because nobody cares about my projects like I do. Nobody. Especially doing this Roger the Raccoon thing, I've realized nobody cares about this like I do. I had to persuade, and I had to go door to door handing out flyers. Like, I hated it, but I did it because nobody's going to do this. If I don't care about it, nobody else is going to care about it anyway. But yeah, just relationships and having positive, inspiring people close to me is very important to me now. Going forward. I mean, it's always kind of been, but it's just now amplified. And then the third thing is just the mindset of it. Whatever you've got going on in your mind, maybe talk to somebody or schedule a call with, or post about, or have a conversation with to find out like where the negative root comes from. Because a lot of the times, I mean, there was literally just a post in the Academy recently in our Facebook group, our private one for Academy members only. And somebody was new and she just graduated college, and she was like, this is the art I do. I need somebody to tell me that this is possible because I just can't see it and my parents can't see it, and which is totally normal, right? Nobody is going to care as much as you, nobody. And so she posted, and I sent her to a video that I recommended with somebody who has a story where she just went full time. And I think you need to watch this because she started out with pet portraits and you're starting out with pet portraits, and this is what she did. Go watch this video. And so it's just, and then we had other people saying, yep, you can do it. This is how I did it. This is how I did it. It's just having that support behind the mental part of this, because it is half of it, right? Getting the mindset right and being able to show up to the job happy, healthy, and in a good place, because it's just all of it. I mean, anytime I have an argument with somebody, it just takes over my life. I can't think about anything else. I can't I'm like, okay, no more. First off, I'm going to give myself the tools to communicate better. I'm giving myself, because it's not just, surrounding yourself with positive people. It's also like, I need to ask better questions. I need to get more clarity out of people. I need to be a person that people can approach. I need to, it's so much, because it all affects our business. It's just, I know that if I do this stuff with my health and my mental state, it's going to make me money. And that's basically the point that I wanted to get across today, is doing self-care and whatnot will make us money, because we are in a business to where our energy levels and our mental state affects our business. If we were just showing up to a 9 to 5 and doing that every day, no, it would, or it might be, I don't know that well, but you're probably fine because you're getting paid hourly, 9 to 5, and you're just, as long as you don't lose your job, you're fine. But ours, it's so much more attached to it. So much more. I want the energy that my husband has. If anybody's met him in person, he is just the most energetic being. And I'm like, how do I get that? How can I biohack my way to your productivity level? Because his business, he is so productive, so beyond productive. He has so much energy. He just gets shit done. And I'm like, you go. Like that, this is so great. But it's because his mental, physical state is so great. And he has the discipline. And I'm like, okay, I want to get to there. I'm not doing terrible, but there's always something to better. I always want to get better. You always want to get better. Okay. Before I stop rambling, thank you for listening to another episode of the Artist Academy podcast. Next week, we will have an interview, and then I'll probably sit down here in a month or so and do another solo episode to check in. And hopefully for that one, I'll have some more energy and some more results to health-wise. But for right now, I'm still in it and making progress and just doing the thing. So I guess if you're in it and you're doing things to better yourself, or you're in the trenches of some sort, no, you're not alone, because I have been too this year. And it gets better. So it is getting better. And yeah, I think by the next solo episode, this is another way that I help train my positive brain. I'm like, by the next time I sit down to record another update like this, a solo episode stuff, I'm going to be updating you on how much better my life is by then, how much more energy I have. Anyway, okay. Thanks for listening to another episode. I will catch you next week. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Artist Academy podcast. If you like this art and business talk in audio form, then I want to invite you to get my book. It's called Mural Money: How to Grow Your Art Business from 0 to 6 figures. So starting from the very bottom, you don't even have a website yet. You have nothing. You're not sure where to go, and you want to make money with a paintbrush. You want to have your creativity pay the bills. I have taken so much of the advice that I've gotten from artists from this podcast. I've been doing one episode for over 5 years now. So many interviews, so many good bits of advice. So I've taken the best of that advice and put it in my book, along with so many stories and lessons learned that I've had in my own mural career, of just how I would go back and save a whole lot of time if I just knew these steps. This is a 15-hour audiobook. And so if you like this podcast, if you're listening to interview after interview, I know that you're going to like the book. So go to muralmoney.com. It's for anybody who wants to grow their art business with a paintbrush. Muralmoney.com. And I will see you next week for another episode of the Artist Academy podcast.